I'll be honest with you right away. Nothing in my life ever looked like the kind of thing that ends up on the news. Not even close. I'm a regular guy. I fix cars. I drink coffee that tastes like motor oil, and most days, the loudest thing in my world is a pneumatic wrench. For 30-odd years, the most exciting thing that ever happened to me was when my dog brought home a dead raccoon. And then my wife disappeared. Yeah, just like that. And when she came back 5 years later, 5 full years, she just walked in through the front door like she'd gone out to pick up some milk and forgot her wallet. But let's not rush it, because if I just drop it like that, it sounds like some late-night TV drama with bad acting. And trust me, the real thing is worse. Because when it happens to you, it's not thrilling or mysterious. It's weird. It's confusing. And it makes everything around you smell wrong for a long, long time. The day she disappeared was a Wednesday, which is the stupidest day for your whole life to go sideways, if you ask me. It wasn't even raining or something cinematic like that. It was just hot, the kind of dry heat that bakes the asphalt and makes you hate everyone who looks like they're not sweating. I've been at the shop since 6:30. By the shop, I mean the garage where I worked. I've been a mechanic in our small town in Ohio for nearly 15 years. My wife, Lily, usually came by around lunch with a sandwich. Not because I asked. She just liked doing that. That's the kind of woman she was. She always remembered who liked pickles, who didn't, and she'd bring 2 extra sodas because she hated seeing anyone thirsty. But that day, she didn't come. At first, I thought maybe she decided to skip lunch. Or maybe she was running errands. Nothing serious. I remember leaning against a lifted Ford, wiping sweat off my forehead with the back of my hand, and thinking about calling her. But I didn't. Why would I? Married couples who trust each other don't freak out because lunch is late. I finished around 5, locked up, and drove home in my old red Chevy. She wasn't there. Dinner wasn't either, but she'd sometimes stop by the grocery store on the way back. So again, no panic. But around 8, something in my gut started buzzing. You know that kind of quiet alarm your brain sets off before your mouth has time to form the words? I called her cell. No answer. I called again. Still nothing. By 10, I was calling everyone I could think of. Her friend Emma, no. Her sister, no. Her mom in Florida, no. She hadn't talked to anyone. Her car was gone. Her purse, too. Like she just decided to disappear. People always think they'd know if their partner was planning to leave. But that's a load of crap. Real life doesn't come with that dramatic conversation like in the movies. Sometimes it just happens in silence. But Lily and I, we were solid. I mean, really solid. We'd been married 10 years. Not once had we had one of those screaming fights you hear through apartment walls. We weren't the perfect couple. We argued about dumb things like socks on the floor and who forgot to buy dog food. But never anything big. We took vacations together every year. Florida in the spring, Colorado in the fall. We had this stupid habit of finishing each other's sentences and laughing at our own inside jokes that made no sense to anyone else. She wasn't just my wife. She was everything that made sense in my day, which is exactly why her disappearing made 0 sense at all. By midnight, I was at the police station filing a missing person report. They were polite, too polite, which is their way of saying, you'll probably never see her again. They asked the usual questions. When did I last see her? Was she upset? Was there another man? I answered all of them, watching the officer's pen scrape the paper like it was writing down the end of my life. The next morning, the town had already started talking. That's the thing about small towns. News spreads like butter on hot toast. By Thursday afternoon, everyone at the diner knew. By Friday, people were stopping me on the street, mostly to say we're praying for you, but some just wanted to hear the gossip straight from the source. One guy even said, you know, sometimes they just run away. I almost punch him in the face. I didn't, but I thought about it. The first week felt like a month. Every night, I slept on the couch with the TV on because silence felt like a punch in the chest. Her toothbrush was still in the bathroom. Her hairbrush, half a cup of coffee, was still on the counter from the morning she left. I couldn't bring myself to wash it. Not because of sentimentality, I just couldn't make the kitchen look like she'd never been there. The police did what they could, which, turns out, is not that much. They searched, checked phone records, did interviews. But after a couple of weeks, it was clear they weren't getting anywhere. And neither was I. I joined every online group, called hospitals when it's shelters, drove to every corner of the damn state, put up posters with her face on it. That photo from last Christmas where she was holding a mug and smiling like she had no idea the universe can be that cruel. I didn't sleep much that year, or the next, or the one after. People slowly stopped asking. At first, they said things like have faith and you'll see, she'll turn up. But faith doesn't keep the house warm when half of it is missing. After a while, they stopped mentioning her altogether, like she was a ghost you're not supposed to talk about. I got used to the silence. Not comfortable with it, just used to it. Like an old injury that still aches when it rains. 5 years. That's how long it was. I'd rebuilt half my life by then. Not in some dramatic way. Just a slow patchwork. I went to work, came home, watched the game, drank cheap beer, mowed the lawn. Occasionally talked to a woman at the grocery store, but never more than a smile. I didn't date. People said I should, but how do you date when your life is still hanging on a hook like a jacket nobody wants to claim? Then, one Thursday evening, 5 years, 3 months, and 17 days after Lily disappeared, I came home and found her sitting on the porch. Just sitting there, like she'd never left. I didn't even recognize her right away. Her hair was shorter. She lost weight. But when she looked up and said, "Hi, Tom," my knees almost gave out. I just stood there like an idiot, my grocery bag hanging from my hand. For a second, my brain decided I'd finally cracked, and this was some hallucination courtesy of a cheap frozen dinner and exhaustion. But then she got up. She walked toward me. She smelled like she used to. "Where have you?" That's all I managed before my throat locked up. "I know," she said. "I know." We just stood there, two people on the front porch of a house that hadn't felt like home in years. The police showed up later, of course. You don't just vanish for 5 years and stroll home without some questions. They took her in. I went with her. They ran tests, asked questions. She told them she'd been living in another state under a different name. She said she didn't remember everything. Long story, she said, which is a hell of a thing to say after 5 years. But the real story, as it turned out, wasn't so simple. And it didn't come out all at once. It came in pieces, over weeks, like she was peeling a scab one corner at a time. The first real conversation happened 2 nights after she came back. We were sitting in the kitchen. I'd made coffee because neither of us could sleep. She was wearing one of my old shirts. It hung on her like a flag on a windless day. "I need you to tell me," I said finally. "Where were you?" She stared at her hands for a while. "I was in New Mexico," she said. "New Mexico." I repeated, like maybe if I said it slow enough it'd make sense. "That's about 1,800 miles away, Lily. You couldn't text me from there?" She let out a shaky breath. "I couldn't contact anyone. I couldn't be me." "Why?" I asked. She looked up then, and something in her eyes made me shut up. She'd always been good at looking at me like she was about to tell me the truth, even when the truth was ugly. "It started before I left," she said. "I just didn't tell you." "Tell me what?" I felt like someone was watching me. "Okay, let me pause right here." This was the part where everything went from strange to absolutely insane. Because, see, when someone disappears for 5 years, your brain builds every possible theory. She ran away. She got kidnapped. She joined some cult. She was dead. But someone was watching me. That one wasn't on my bingo card. I leaned back, stared at her, tried to figure out if this was the same woman who used to hum while brushing her teeth. "You didn't think maybe to mention that at some point?" I said. She smiled a little, not a happy smile. I thought I was imagining it. But it got worse. Someone kept leaving things. A lighter on the porch. A red scarf in the mailbox. A note under the doormat that just said soon. I froze, because I remembered the scarf. I'd found it one morning months before she vanished. She'd said it was probably one of the neighbor kids. I didn't think twice. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked quietly. "I didn't want to scare you," she said. "I didn't want to scare myself." She told me more over the next days. How she got anonymous calls. How she felt followed. How one night she packed a small bag and drove. She didn't tell anyone. Not because she didn't love me. She said it was because she didn't want to pull me into it. She ended up in some small desert town in New Mexico. Changed her name. Found work in a diner. Slept in a crappy motel for months. Then rented a small place. Lived like a shadow. Always looking over her shoulder. I listened, nodding, but my brain kept screaming, "You could have called. You could have sent one letter. One word." But I didn't say that. Not yet. Our house turned into something else in those first weeks. Not home. More like a waiting room between before and after. She tried to settle in, cooked breakfast like she used to, hummed when she washed dishes. But everything had edges now. Every sound made her flinch just a bit. Every time a car slowed down outside, she looked toward the window. And me? I didn't know how to be around her. I loved her, I never stopped. But 5 years of not knowing carves out something in you. You can't just patch it back in with scrambled eggs and good intentions. One night, she said, "You're quiet." And I said, "Yeah, well, you've been gone." She winced, and I hated myself a little for it. But it was the truth. I wasn't the only one confused. Her sister came by 3 times that week, asking the same questions in different ways. The neighbors whispered. Emma cried when she saw Lily in the grocery store. Even the guys at the shop stopped pretending not to talk about it. "Dude, is it really her?" One of them asked me, lowering his voice like she might be a ghost who'd evaporate if he spoke too loud. "Yeah," I said. "It's her." "What the hell happened?" "If I knew, I'd tell you," I said. The thing is, she wasn't lying. That was the strange part. I could see it. Her hands shook when she talked about that period. She had this way of scanning rooms like she was still expecting someone to step out of shadow. Whatever happened to her out there, it left a mark. But still, I kept coming back to the same question. Why not me? Why not trust me? She'd always said we were a team. But teams don't run plays without the quarterback, right? A month after she came back, the police called. They'd reopened the case. Want to go over her story. They asked her to come in for more questioning. I went with her. The detective, a tall woman with hair tied too tight, asked, "Do you remember any faces? Any names?" Lily shook her head. I didn't see anyone. It was just things left around. Calls. Breathing on the line. But I knew someone was out there. "Why didn't you report it then?" the detective asked. Lily hesitated. "Because I thought maybe I was going crazy." "Were you?" The detective said, not kindly, not cruelly, just like someone who's heard too many stories. "No," Lily said firmly. "I wasn't. They never found who did it, or if there even was someone. There are no fingerprints on the scarf, no trace of anything else, no record of the calls. Nothing to prove or disprove a single word she said." And me? I was stuck somewhere between believing her and feeling like I'd been left in a burning house without a bucket. The real breaking point came one night around 2 months after her return. We were in the living room. She was sitting on the couch, reading something. I was watching the late game, pretending to care. She said, "I'm sorry." Just like that. Out of nowhere. I turned the volume down. For what? For everything. For leaving. For not calling. For being scared. I stared at the floor. "Yeah," I said. "I'm sorry too. For not being enough for you to stay." She looked up, startled. "It wasn't about you." "I know," I said. "Doesn't change how it felt." She put the book down. "I thought I was protecting you. By disappearing?" I laughed, but it wasn't funny. "Health of a protection plan, Lil." She flinched. I didn't know what else to do. That was the first real fight we'd ever had. Which, is ironic as hell. 10 years of marriage, no big fights. But give it 5 years of silence and one porch reunion, and suddenly we were yelling like teenagers who just learned how to slam doors. "You should have trusted me," I said. "I trusted you with everything," she shot back. "But I was scared. You don't know what it's like." "You're right," I said. "I don't. Because you didn't give me a damn chance." And then there was silence. Thick. Heavy. The kind that doesn't break on its own. We didn't sleep in the same bed that night. I lay awake staring at the ceiling, thinking about all the nights I'd spent alone, trying to keep the house from swallowing me. And now she was here, and somehow the silence was louder than ever. The next morning, she made pancakes. Like that was going to fix it. I ate them anyway, because that's what people do when they love someone and don't know what else to do. Things didn't magically get better. This isn't a fairy tale. Some days were good. She'd laugh at some dumb joke I made, and for a second it was like old times. Other days, she'd wake up with that distant look, like part of her was still in New Mexico, hiding from shadow nobody else could see. I learned her new habits, how she checked the locks 3 times before bed, how she always sat facing the door in restaurants, how she never left her phone unattended. And she learned mine, how I'd stare at her when she thought I wasn't looking, how I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. Because if someone disappears once, what's stopping them from doing it again? About 3 months in, she told me something she hadn't said before. We were sitting in the truck outside the grocery store. She was gripping a receipt like it was a lifeline. There was a man, she said quietly. He came into the diner sometimes. He didn't talk much, just stared. And one day, he left the same scarf on the counter. The same one. I turned to look at her. You're sure? She nodded. Yeah. I panicked. Packed up again. Moved to another town. Changed jobs. And you never went to the cops? I tried, she said. They thought I was paranoid. No proof. No crime. Just a woman saying she's scared. That's when it hit me. She didn't just run away from me. She ran away from everything. The world. Herself. And I didn't know how to compete with a ghost. I wish I could tell you there was some grand ending. That we found the guy. That we got closure. But we didn't. Life doesn't tie itself up in pretty bows. Sometimes it just sits there, frayed at the edges, daring you to make peace with it. We never found him. No fingerprints, no name, no nothing. Just Lily. Back home. Changed. And me. Trying to figure out if the man who spent 5 years missing her is the same man who can love who she is now. One night, about 6 months after she returned, we sat on the back porch. The air smelled like wet grass. Crickets were loud. She said, "Do you hate me?" I looked at her for a long time. "No," I said. "I hate what happened. I hate that I wasn't there. I hate that you felt alone. But I don't hate you." She let out a breath she'd probably been holding for 5 years. "I don't know how to be here," she admitted. "Me neither," I said. "But we're here anyway." That's the thing nobody tells you. Sometimes happily ever after is just two people sitting in the dark, admitting they're broken, and deciding to keep going anyway. Lily didn't disappear again. We built a new kind of life, not the same as before. Different, messy, more fragile, but real. And every time I see her check the locks before bed, I don't roll my eyes. I just wait until she's done, then turn off the light. Because when you lose someone once, you learn to hold on quietly. So yeah, my wife disappeared for 5 years. Then she came back. And if you're waiting for some grand revelation, some twist, there isn't one. Just two people, a front porch, and a life that didn't end the way we planned, but didn't end at all. And that, I guess, is something.